Good morning, and you're very welcome to my Monday messages. For those of you who are following me, you're probably aware that I posted a post last week about my mother-in-law being in the process of her final journey, so in palliative care and journeying towards her final transition from this earthly body and into her spirit form, so death. And I am reasonably familiar with the death process, having witnessed it in both my own parents and a number of good friends along my way. And I am very grateful having had the experience that I have had, and it being able to allow me to be fully present with my mother-in-law's death and the process that it is, because it's not an event. It's a very special process, and it involves a great deal sometimes of letting go, of releasing, of feeling supported and held enough to be able to sift through what is important and what is not important. And that can be very challenging for the people around the person dying as well as the person themselves. And so my privilege in this particular process is to be able to act as someone who can hold that energy, if you like, and someone who can be quiet and still and really listen and not feel the need to fill the space with chatter, to anoint with oils. Love the beautiful oils that I work with anyway, with the remedies that I also work with. And I know that my mother-in-law really appreciated during her lifetime and benefited from hugely. To know what she finds comforting, excuse me, and to be able to do that through everyone else's stuff, because that can be very heavy in the room when there are mourning relatives around, understandably. So I also feel I wanted to just share why I feel a great responsibility to do that. Not, and I don't mean responsibility as a kind of heavy thing. I mean it as a human being, actually, and that the death process is something we still sweep under the carpet, and we're afraid of it, and we can live our lives full of fear of the death process, which is no way to live a life, in my opinion. My responsibility towards my mother-in-law, I see as multifaceted, actually. I see it as a daughter-in-law, who is hugely grateful for her presence, especially when I first moved over from the UK to Ireland with young children who needed someone who wasn't, who was a family member and who could be there while my husband and I were trying to build a house and trying to set up businesses and care, obviously, for our young children who had been uprooted from everything they knew. And she was there for me and for them for a number of years while she could. And I am incredibly grateful for that. So my duty, if you like, my responsibility as a daughter-in-law is kind of rooted in that. It's also very much enmeshed for me in just my responsibility as one woman to another, to be there, to be a support, a female presence, somebody who notices those small things, who isn't afraid to rub her feet with oil, who isn't afraid to put oil on her painfully thin chest, and to talk to her of her garden, and take her into a place of beauty and of comfort, which happened to be actually her mother's garden the other day, and allow her to be in the comfort that gave her. It's particularly important when we come from very masculine families, because not all men, and certainly not all women are very much, can be very much in their masculine energy, and we can have a need to fix, to do, to come out of the dreaming and the kind of betwixt and between energy that is very present when we're in the process of transitioning. I hope I'm making sense. Do let me know. And yeah, and I'm very grateful to be able to do that simply as another woman, but also as another human being, honouring an elder woman, a woman who has lived a very deep and rich life, certainly in her younger years, and had much to pass on. So I wanted to share that with you, and what an honour I feel that is for me to be able to do that. And I know that I couldn't do that with my own parents, or I found it very challenging, clearly because they were my own parents, and also because I hadn't lived as long as I have now. I hadn't done many of the practices that I now find part of my daily life. I wasn't as wise as I am now. And I used to think that having a death doula was a bit of an odd concept in my younger days, and, kind of got the birth doula thing. But the death doula, now I embrace that role fully. And I feel that that's one thing that we lose in our lack of community ritual with things like death. The ability to have somebody who isn't so directly involved with the loss of the physical form, and someone who can notice those things and who can create a safe, nurturing, familiar space that that reaches all the senses. Because even though my mother-in-law has her eyes closed a lot of the time, I know that she senses. I know that she smells. She loves the oils that I've been putting on her. And I know that she is dreaming. And yeah, anyway. So that was my message, really, and was just to be as comfortable as we can with the inevitability and the beauty of this transitioning from coming out of our earthly bodies, and embracing the freedom that comes with that spiritual transitioning, if you like, and doing it sooner rather than later can be really transformational in living our lives fully. Why? Because it means that we can process our own feelings and come to terms with the physical loss that we may be feeling, and know that there is a freedom in the spirit being transcending that physical vehicle that we have been blessed with to live our lives on this earth. And because the person transitioning deserves our full presence and our care and our attention and our listening, our deep listening. And because we can learn that to live with a fear of death and its process is no way to live, and that there actually isn't anything to fear. And it's also, for me, it's a closing of a spiritual, energetic circle, if you like. And it's when we can't close that, when we leave that grief dangling and unresolved and unwoven in to our understanding of life and its process, that our own lives are deeply affected and not in a positive way. And that's not to say that we forget the person, far from it. But, I've treated so many people over the years with various forms of pathology and emotional upset. And the root of it is some kind of unresolved issue with a grief or a loss, death. And it can hold us back, and it can stop us from really flourishing and really living, and also being able to transition when we finally come to that place, because we all will. So that's my message really today for this week, is to share a little bit of what I feel very privileged to be able to take part in, and also to urge you to start to come to terms with it yourself. And if you have any kind of sense of your own unresolved grief or loss, then that's what I do. I support people in that and being able to process that. And we can do that in a number of different ways. So if you are interested in exploring that, then do just drop me a comment or share this with somebody who you think might benefit, or book a free clarity call, which is in the link with this video, and we can have a chat about how I can best support you. That's it. So I hope it's not a depressing post. I don't mean it to be. I mean it to be actually, yes, quiet and respectful and thoughtful, but also, I hope, uplifting. Because there is a beauty in us embracing death and it giving us a certain amount of freedom during our lives. And life goes on. And it is really beautiful when we can do that. Okay, thank you so much for listening. And as ever, I really welcome any comments that you have. Take care.